Hello and welcome back, and yes, it's time, part 3 of our planning for 2020 and the decade beyond, and it's time to start getting into the practical details and getting some goals set that will actually stick. So this is the sort of thing that you enjoy, then give me a like, subscribe if you're new, and drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you want to hear. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you don't get lost out there in YouTube and you know whenever I'm putting up a new video. Well, today is part 3 of our 2020 planning, and if you've just joined me, then the other 2 are up here. I'll link them and I'll link them down in the description below. But we've covered a couple of the basics that you have to do before you start planning, and today we're getting really into the practical sort of steps that are needed to lock those goals in, make sure that you get the best out of this year. Now, step 1 is of course to get clear on your goals. Now, we've talked about them, they're going to be being goals. The to-do lists, as opposed to the to-be lists, the to-do lists always get done eventually and in the end. If you write them down, get them out of your head so you don't have them fluffing around in there. To-do stuff always gets done. We're talking about to be, and to be is the important stuff. When your future self looks back from 2030 and looks back at this year and this decade, that your future self is going to say to you, you really kicked it out of the park, you did an amazing job. Now, step 1 is always, of course, going to be write down your goals, because if you write them down and tell somebody about them, you don't have to tell the world, you know, it's okay. Just even a really good friend, or you know, your partner, somebody, just tell them about your goals, and immediately your chances of hitting those goals goes up by 70%, actually just a bit more than 70%. So it's really important, write them down, and you're going to have quarterly, monthly, weekly and daily goals that all relate to that mission, to that project. For example, let's say that this is the year that you want to downsize your home. You've been thinking about it, it's been on the cards, but you haven't quite got there. I know, it sounds overwhelming, but it's not. There are 5 steps basically to every project, to every goal. Whether I've been doing a house or a downsize or anything like that, there are 5 main steps. So for example, let's take downsizing. Step 1 would be to discuss it with your partner if you're in a relationship, or to think about it and make notes about it for yourself if you're solo, to brainstorm, to do that brain dump, to get some ideas down on paper about what you want, where you want to go, why you want to do it, if you want to do it at all. Step 2 would be to then work out your real needs, wants, as well as your dreams, obviously, your financial position, how it's going to work. Step 3 would be to do a big declutter and get your house ready for sale, and do the research that's needed at the same time to be buying another house. Step 4, declutter completely, pack up with the knowledge of where you're going, because you've bought your new house, you know what's going to fit in. And step 5 is to arrange and to move into your new home. Bam, done. Now, you can see there are 5 steps. There are lots of little steps inside those 5 steps, but basically it's 5 steps. This is how any project gets beaten, you know, broken down to functional pieces. What does that mean I would have to do on a weekly basis, and what would I have to do on a daily basis in order to achieve that by the end of the quarter? There you go. That's your goal setting. Now, a big part of this first step of getting your goals sorted is to really understand the why, and to have very good reasons behind it. For example, if you want to declutter your home, then a good reason would be that you know that it will help you to feel calm, you know that there's a lot of stuff that you really don't use or want or need, and as a result that could go, and you would feel better in your home with that done. A bad reason would be because everybody's doing it. If you're comfortable and happy with your life the way it is, then don't set that as a goal. You won't attain it, then you'll feel bad about it, because the motivation has to come from within. It has to be that you want something that you're going to feel a certain way, you're going to be a certain way when you've completed that goal. The same with downsizing. What would be a good reason? Oh, the house is too big, you have dreams that you want to go and live in a different environment, you want to free up perhaps some capital. Those sorts of things, they're good reasons. A bad reason would once again be because all your friends are doing it, but you're still perfectly happy in your home. That's not a good reason, so you wouldn't be motivated to do it. So then you would think, oh, I failed. No, you wouldn't have failed. You just wouldn't have had the ambition to achieve that. Wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have wanted it enough, and hence you didn't do it. You've got to know what's driving it, what's the ambition, what's the goal that you want, how do you want to feel, what do you want to achieve. All of these things come into driving this ambition, to keeping you motivated to going on. Now, step 2 is simply setting yourself up so that you can achieve these quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily goals. The way that you approach your day-to-day life, the routines and habits of your life come from what you want to be. It's, once again, future self keeping an eye on you, giving you a little nudge and saying, come on. Now, we all know that the second week of January, most of the New Year's resolutions have gone by the wayside, and mostly I think that's because so many of them are framed in a negative way. For example, I want to lose X kilos, X pounds, whatever. Now, the way that we frame them is always negative, and that is not a being goal. That's like a to-do list goal. So the being goal would be to say, I'm going to aim that by the end of 2020, I'm going to have had the healthiest year that I can remember. And that's a being goal. So that your habits then build around supporting that thing you want to achieve. And instead of trying to break habits, you instead are building other ones that support the way you want to be. For example, if I want to be the healthiest that I've been for years, I need to sleep better. And sleep is a really big thing. And you think, well, okay, I've got to walk in the mornings and I've got to sleep better. So what does that mean? It means, getting up at 6:30, making the most of the early part of the day, and that's fine. But hang on a minute, that means I can't do the midnight Netflix session, because if I'm still watching Netflix at 12, then I'm not going to be asleep till 1, and yeah, it all goes downhill from there, doesn't it? So I think a lot of these things, the routines, the habits that we talk about and set as resolutions, need to be seen more in the light of support systems for your being goals. Now, my AM routine is set up. It's pretty much a habit already, so this is an easy one for me. The first thing I do is I have my lemon water, then I go for a walk. 30 minutes, 60 minutes, depends on the day, depends on the weather, depends on what else is on that day. Third thing I'll do when I come back is coffee. It's my coffee time. Yes, of course I'll have a shower and do all that, but really, we don't need to write that down, do we? And then I will read over my goals while I'm having my coffee, remembering the more often you revisit your goals, and if you read them out loud it gets even better, the more likely you are to achieve them. And then the fifth thing I do every morning is then I'll just sit and check that I've got my day sorted, the to-do list part of my day, any appointments, anything I can't dodge. Now, my evening routine is a little bit less set in stone because I'm not quite so good at this yet. It's something I'm working on, but I know what it should look like in order to support me, and this is my ideal evening routine. I give myself a bedtime, because otherwise, as I said, that 12 o'clock at night watching Netflix and it turns into going to bed at 1 o'clock, can't do that. So I set myself a bedtime, and 1 hour before that my alarm goes off on my phone telling me, you've got to get ready to go to bed. I potter around, make sure the place is clean, tidy. I clean my face, brush my teeth, maybe have a shower depending on the day, and that sort of gets me in that nice space ready for bed. What I don't do is look at my phone. I put my phone to bed, like nine eyes. Maybe it can play me a podcast, or maybe it can play me some music because I'll be using Spotify, but it's not going to be used for any of those other things, like checking my social media or checking Facebook or writing emails, any of those things. It's gone to sleep early for all those things. It's allowed to keep out podcasts and music, but that's all. Third thing is I turn down my bed. I know, like a hotel. Why not? I deserve that. And then the last thing I do is I can sit and read a book. I don't even use a Kindle. I use a book because I don't want any of the blue light that upsets the way that we sleep. It plays havoc with our brains in terms of keeping us awake. So I just read a book, a real book made of paper, and do that for an hour or so, half an hour, depends. I might feel sleepy and just turn off the lights and potter off to bed. But that's a nice wind down. That's the ideal. Didn't say it always happens. We'll get there. Now, the other thing that I do, but it's during the day, is that I work my calendar with real intent. I'll just block out a 2-hour stint and I will just sit down and do a specific thing. Maybe I'll film, maybe I'll plan for film, maybe I'll plan content, I might be writing something, but that will be a 2-hour block and it will be done. The phone will be off. Sometimes I even put it in another room. I might have put on some intense study sort of music so that I've got something to fill in. Sometimes I have to put on my noise cancelling earphones and just get really locked down because, you know, the ambient noise around is distracting me. I'm really easily distracted. So I block out my time on my calendar. I also make sure that my calendar is filled for the month. If I put in any appointments, anything that I have to be at, that's always in my monthly overview. And then of course I use a bullet journal. It's a good place to put personal stuff, how I'm going in terms of, say, the books I'm reading, the sorts of my goals are all done in my bullet journal, broken down into monthly and the quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, that sort of thing. I like to have action steps in my bullet journal for each day. Those are the sorts of things that help this to keep me focused, because otherwise I'm distractible and I will go off on a tangent and that will be the end of it. Now my bullet journal is really simple. It's not beautiful. It's not one of the ones that people, you know, can display as a real piece of art. Mine is a very functional, minimal sort of beast, but it does what I need it to do. And in my next video, that's something that I'll take you through, is how I set up my bullet journal and what functions I have in there that are really important to me, and I'm not quite sure where else I could put them. So there we are. That's the end of part 3. But part 4 will be the bullet journal, and then we'll be all ready and set for 2020. I hope that there was something in here that you found interesting. If there is, then please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new and want to come along and we do this sort of thing. Well, we do all sorts of things on this channel. And join us. It's a great tribe, terrific people here, and I'd love to have you. So I will be back with my bullet journal, and I hope that whatever you're doing today, you're having a lovely time. I'll see you soon. Bye.